In this video, we will look at configuring the database availability group networking for our new DAG. So I'm back on my mailbox server CDEX3 and I have the Exchange Management Console open, and here's the database availability group that we created in the previous lesson. Now first, let's take a look at the properties of that database availability group and go here to the IP addresses tab, and here's where we have an opportunity to assign a static IP address to the DAG. So I'll click on add, and I'm going to assign mine 192.168.102.15. Let's go ahead and apply that change. The next step is to configure the DAG networks. As you can see, the process of creating the database availability group and adding the two mailbox servers as members has created these two DAG networks for us. It's basically auto-detected the subnets that all the DAG members are connected to and added appropriate DAG networks. So here's a DAG network for my 192.168.102 subnet, which is the Sydney LAN. And here is the subnet 10.0.0, which is my dedicated replication network. And it just gives those names: DAG network 1, DAG network 2, and so on. If you had more networks listed here, they would just increment numerically. Those names aren't very intuitive, of course, so what I'm going to do is rename them so that I can tell what the purpose of those DAG networks is just by their names. So I know that the 10.0.0 subnet is my replication network, so I'm going to rename DAG network 1 to replication. I'll call it replication 1 just to match that naming standard I used on my network interfaces in a previous lesson. And for DAG network 2, I will call that MAPI. You could call that production or LAN or anything you like. Now this checkbox here is for enabling or disabling replication on a network. The database availability group will use all available replication networks for replicating data between members of the DAG. And it will do so in its own little internal algorithm where it basically alternates using the least recently used network. So if you have two networks, for example, it would basically alternate back and forth. If you had three replication networks, it would go through each one and then go back to the first one again. So obviously for our MAPI network or our client-facing network, we want to make sure that the least recently used algorithm doesn't include this MAPI network and doesn't send any replication traffic over this MAPI network. So I'll untick the box to enable replication and apply that change. So now I've got my two DAG networks configured. We can see the subnets and network interfaces associated with each one and the status of those network interfaces. We can also see that replication is disabled on the MAPI network and enabled on the replication network. Now you may be thinking at this point, what if the replication network becomes unavailable for some reason? So we have a network card failure or a switch failure or something like that that prevents the two nodes from connecting to each other across that replication network. What will happen to that replication traffic, given that we've disabled replication on the MAPI network? Well, in fact, what will happen is the replication traffic will start going across the MAPI network because it's the only DAG network that remains available. All we've done there is to say that as long as there are other replication networks available with replication enabled, do not use this network for replication traffic, but as a last resort, it will in fact use that network. So now we have our DAG networking configured. In the next video, we're going to take a look at how we configure our mailbox database copies.